Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for another update on Solana. So, let's talk about Sol pre-FOMC meeting. The next FOMC decision is just 5 hours away and I'm seeing this pattern develop in both Bitcoin and Solana that I do want to talk about today. So, before we dive into this new pattern, talk about what is new for Solana, let's first of all update this chart that we've been running on the daily time frame, which I have recently been talking about in our last video 5 days ago. So, all in all, just want a quick update on this one. Not too much has changed. I've still got my eyes on this Bart pattern that is developing. As you can see in the thumbnail, we were talking about the bull market support bands, which we are still underneath as resistance right now. We're up, literally bashing our heads against the top of this bull market support band. And of course, from 5 days ago, you can still see that we are trading and religiously just slapping our head against the bottom of this uptrending line of support. Now, it's not looking too hot for Solana right now. Really, in terms of this, nothing has changed. On the weekly time frame, you can still see that this is a big area of liquidity in the markets. And what we have done, if we do zoom in, as we have been poking our head to the upside of this quite recently and just grabbing some trapped liquidity from this range. So from that perspective, nothing has changed. It really does look like this Bart pattern is just developing its final spike before that next move down that we are expecting. You can also see now from the most recent swing high down to the swing low, with the pump in the past couple of days, we've been getting absolutely trapped underneath the 618 Fibonacci. We are in the golden ratio right now, pending for a big decision, which of course is probably going to correlate to the FOMC meeting in 5 hours time. Now, I want to talk about something interesting, a fractal which has played out for Solana, and not only a fractal, but this is in confluence with these Federal Reserve meetings. Now, you can see on the daily time frame, the EMA ribbons have just fired long. On the weekly time frame, let's see where our EMA ribbons are. We are still getting trapped underneath the short-term moving averages for the EMA ribbons, so we're still showing extreme weakness on this part. On the daily time frame, however, though, we have fired long. On the 4-hour time frame, we have fired long. What's interesting about this firing of a long signal is I do believe this may mark the top for Solana. Now, we're going to talk about what the oscillators think about this top in just 1 second. They are looking quite overextended right now, but let's go back a second and let's look at the last time we were consolidating sideways and then fired long. This was caused by a rally. This over here was a consolidation phase. So you can really see, we were just lollygagging, lollygagging, lollygagging. We were red over here and then we broke back up, back into the consolidation range, and this is what caused us to fire bullish. And this is really what I think looks very, very similar to over here. Now, we didn't have the same Bart pattern run up, but you've got these spiky formations slowly, slowly, slowly moving up, forming a pattern that is very, very similar to what's happening right now, which we will talk about in our next chart. However, what I do want to highlight is right here, over on the 17th of August, well, let me rephrase this. Over on the 16th of August, the EMA ribbons fired bullish between the 15th or the 16th. They probably loaded it on the 16th, but you can see here, coming into the 17th, we instantly nuked through the floorboards of these and broke bearish. So what happened over here? We were sideways consolidating, we were forming an ascending wedge, the EMA ribbons flipped bullish, and then we nuked through the floorboards on the 17th. What did this come into correlation to? Not an FOMC meeting per se, not the FOMC decision on the interest rates, but it was in correlation to a FOMC minutes meeting. Now, a lot of the markets for the past year or so, 6 months really, have been, constantly saying, oh, now is the month for the Fed to pivot, now is the month for the Fed to pivot, now is the month for the Fed to pivot. And we often rally into these FOMC minutes meetings, and especially the FOMC meetings, which is kind of what we're doing right now, kind of just lollygagging, slowly breaking up into the FOMC meeting. And then the Fed comes out, they reinstate their stance that they're still hawkish, they're still going to keep on raising the interest rates. I think it's very likely we see a 25 basis point increase today. The markets are not going to enjoy this, and we may see, just like what happened over here on the 17th of August, the FOMC minutes came out, the Fed was hawkish, they said we're going to keep on raising the interest rates, and then that was when the markets were ready to break back down to the downside. I think this fractal could be playing out once again for Solana. So as we just discussed over here, if we do look at the pattern, I'm just kind of, drawing this as a line of best fit, just to kind of show you what we see over here. But we were forming a rising wedge coming into the FOMC meeting. So let's now zoom into the 4-hour chart and see what is happening for Solana. Well, you can also see coming into another FOMC meeting, we do have a 4-hour ascending wedge right now for Solana. So the apex of this is really going to be around about the 25th, 26th absolute latest. Of course, today is a very big day. The markets have been rallying, assuming that the Fed is going to pivot. And, you know, I think this is not necessarily going to be the case. You know, inflation expectations or interest rate expectations for cuts were much higher earlier on in the week. And we are seeing that the markets are starting to realize that the Fed is not going to pivot, as they are starting to kind of realize this 25 basis point is the most likely scenario for the market. So with this, I do think this 4-hour ascending wedge on Solana is very likely to break down to the downside. Now, be very, very careful if you're trading this. I wouldn't personally be trading this move because these FOMC meetings are very, very volatile. Often what you'll see is you'll see a fake out. As soon as the FOMC comes out, you'll see markets priced in an interest rate cut. So, you know, an interest rate hike rather. So they'll pump on the news, and then, you know, after an hour or two, maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, the markets will absolutely reverse and nuke to the downside. So something like this, would I be surprised if Solana pushes up to the upside, you know, $24, $23 or so into the FOMC before melting to the downside? I absolutely would not be surprised. Would I also be surprised if we just broke to the downside instantly? I wouldn't. This is why I'm personally not trading this, and I think if you are trading this, be very, very careful with your leverage. As we do break further down into the downside of the bear market, I'm much more interested in, you know, if you've been watching my videos, I've been letting you know, I'm not really trading this right now. I'm kind of just waiting for Solana to come down to my buy targets so I can get back into the Solana ecosystem, which I've been out of since just above $100 or so. So really still sitting on the sidelines right now, looking at this 4-hour pattern play out. You can see if we start breaking out in the next 8 hours or so, which is, you know, coming into the FOMC meeting, you can see the price target is round here at about $17.50. Now, if we look at the Fibonacci ratio, low to high, you can see this would break us to the downside of your 786 Fibonacci, at which point we would be coming right back down for this low at just under $16. And what's interesting about that is this is how it would kind of develop. So we've obviously got this price action playing out already. If we do break down, fall through the Fibonacci level, and then come down and take out this $15 region, this, in my opinion, is going to absolutely form into a Bart pattern with the price target we've been talking about down here at $8, at which point I do think Solana will be heading down to the price target we've been talking about on this channel for a very, very long time, around about this $5 region. We've been very, very patient waiting for this price target to come into fruition. Of course, if you go on our channel and we type in Solana, you know, yes, I've been calling for $5 for a long time. If you go back to some of my older videos, nothing really has changed. You know, I was calling for $9 Solana like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago. People laughed at me back then. They weren't laughing when Solana went down to $8. What was it, $8 or somewhere around about here? $7.90. So we perfectly hit our first bear market price target. Now, in the macro time frame, we've obviously been calling for this $5 price target for a while, sitting very, very patiently on the sidelines. Some people think it's funny that we're waiting for $5. That's completely fine. The people who laughed at $9 are no longer on this channel. The people who laughed at $5 will probably not be on this channel in, you know, the next couple of months or so when we do come down to this price target. So all in all, $5, I do think we are coming down to this level. Really, this is my last macro price target for Solana. I do believe we bottom round about this range for Solana. This is when I'm getting back into the ecosystem. And in the higher time frames, you can see what caused us to come down and fill this $9 price target we were talking about for absolutely ages was a retest of the short-term moving averages on the EMA ribbons on the weekly time frame before nuking down into new lows. We are currently getting absolutely rejected from a lower price target. So, you know, this is really a very, very similar fractal that I do see playing out. And in the lower time frames, we've got confluence with these rising triangles, rising wedges rather, and the rising wedges are coming into confluence with the FOMC minutes meetings. The altcoin market is sitting at a critical level of resistance right now. Sol BTC may be a leading indicator of what is likely to come next for Sol USD. You can see Solana's Bitcoin pair came into this double 786 Fibonacci. You can see where it's drawn from here. It got rejected from this, and unlike Sol USD, which is still holding up at these highs, Sol BTC is getting annihilated. And I often like to look at Sol BTC I often like to look at alt BTC pairs as these are leading indicators of what is likely to come for Sol USD. So Sol BTC is breaking down in advance. I think Sol USD will soon follow suit. Daily time frame as well. While we are getting rejected underneath these underneath this trend line, which we were talking about in our previous video over here 5 days ago, in the past 5 days, this has just allowed oscillators to become much more overextended. Stochastic RSI is at 100. The MFI is at 64. The stochastic RSI has reset momentum, and typically when you reset momentum over on the stochastic RSI, this was round about the heartline here. Typically when this happens, you're getting ready to, slowly chop back down lower on the daily time frame. So that's really what I see playing out for Solana. Our Elliott wave theory, as you can still see, is beautifully playing out. Unless we come up to $38, then, we're still expecting this last A, B, C down to $4.50/$5 to be in fruition. So for today, my friends, that's all I've got. If you do enjoy my videos, as always, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends. If you want to further support the channel, feel free to click the join button and become a member today. Follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. But I'll leave it here for today. 5 hours away until our next FOMC meeting, my friends. Probably slightly less by the time I post this video. If you want a countdown of the FOMC, be sure to join the Discord. That is in the About section. All of my official links are down below. But yeah, that's all I've got for you today. As always, it's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out, my friends. Peace.